Most people think car crashes only happen because of a driver's mistake. But what if it was a part of the car that failed? Can you still make a claim? In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how defective auto parts cause crashes and when a manufacturer can be held responsible so that you can get the compensation you deserve. Hey, I'm attorney Lloyd Bourgeois, your Louisiana injury attorney. I spent years helping injured folks fight back when insurance companies and corporate interests try to take advantage of them after a crash. If you've been seriously injured in a crash and need someone in your corner, give me and my team a call at 504-882-9867 for your free consultation. Remember, when you want to win, you gotta give them the L. I've seen cases where drivers were blamed for crashes that in reality were caused by something entirely out of their control, which are mostly a defective part on their own vehicle. These situations can be complicated, but the truth is, you do have a valid claim, and it's not just against the other driver, but against the company that designed or made that faulty part. A modern automobile is made up of thousands of parts, some mechanical, some electronic, all working together to help keep you safe and get you from point A to B. But when one of those parts fails, the consequences can be devastating. And unlike crashes caused by another driver or driver error, there's often little to no warning. You can be doing everything right, driving the speed limit, keeping your eyes on the road, and still find yourself in a crash because a part failed. So how do these defective auto parts contribute to crashes? A defective part can cause a crash in several ways. In some cases, it directly causes you to lose control of the vehicle, like a steering mechanism that locks up or a suspension system that collapses. In others, the defect doesn't cause the crash itself but makes it worse. For example, an airbag doesn't deploy properly during a minor collision, and what could have been a small injury might turn into something life-changing. Under product liability laws, defects generally fall into three categories: design defects, manufacturing defects, and failure to warn defects. A design defect means the part was dangerous from the very beginning, even before it was made. A manufacturing defect happens when something goes wrong during the production process, so the part is different from the intended design. Failure to warn defects mean the manufacturer knew there were risks with the part, but didn't properly inform consumers about how to use it safely or what dangers to watch out for. When a defective part is involved, you may still have a claim even if another driver was partly at fault. Louisiana law allows for claims against multiple parties, which means your case could involve both the driver and the manufacturer. That's why identifying the defective part early is critical. It could open another door for compensation that covers your medical bills, lost wages, and more. What are some causes of malfunctioning parts? Now look, not every defective part is the result of carelessness by a manufacturer, but some are. Sometimes the problem starts during the design stage, where a company chooses a cheaper material to save money, even though it's less durable. Other times, the issue happens during production. Maybe a batch of parts came out the factory with a flaw because the machine wasn't calibrated properly. There are also situations where parts wear out earlier than expected because the manufacturer didn't account for real-world conditions. For example, a braking system might work fine in a lab, but fail after a few months of exposure to Louisiana's heat, humidity, and road conditions. And let's not forget about counterfeit or substandard replacement parts. In some cases, mechanics or repair shops knowingly or unknowingly install parts that aren't up to standard, and those parts later fail. When that happens, figuring out who is responsible, the manufacturer, the distributor, or the installer, it takes a careful investigation. So, can you sue the manufacturer? Possibly. If a defective part caused your crash or made your injuries worse, you may be able to bring a claim against the manufacturer. In Louisiana, product liability law allows you to hold manufacturers accountable if you can prove that the product was unreasonably dangerous and that this defect directly caused your injuries. This doesn't just apply to new cars. Even if your vehicle is several years old, you may still have a claim if the part that failed was defective from the start. In fact, many recalls involve vehicles that have been on the road for years. And timing matters here. Product liability cases in Louisiana have a prescription period, just like any other case. Essentially, that's a deadline for filing your claim. And because defective parts often require expert examination, you don't want to wait too long. The sooner you act, the more likely it is the part can be inspected before it's repaired, replaced, or destroyed. So how do you prove liability in a defective auto part case? Proving a case like this takes more than just pointing to a broken part and saying, "This caused my crash." You have to show that the part was defective, that the defect existed when it left the manufacturer's hands, and that it directly caused your injuries. This usually means bringing in experts, engineers, crash reconstruction specialists, and sometimes even the people who worked on the vehicle. This all takes serious money and serious time. The vehicle itself becomes a key piece of evidence. That's why one of the first things we tell clients is to preserve their car after a crash if they suspect a vehicle defect. Don't let it get repaired or scrapped until it's been examined. You also need to keep maintenance records, recall notices, and any prior complaints about the part. In court, the manufacturer will often argue that the part failed because of something you or your mechanic did after you bought it. They may say the vehicle wasn't maintained properly, or that the part was damaged in the crash, not before it. That's why thorough investigation and expert testimony is so important. The stronger your evidence, the harder it is for the manufacturer to shift blame. And with any vehicle or product defect case, the injuries must be severe and significant. If you've been seriously injured in a crash and suspect a defective part played a role, you need to act quickly. Not just to protect your rights, but to make sure the evidence is preserved. These cases are complex, but they can also lead to significant financial justice to help you recover physically, financially, and emotionally. If you or someone you care about has been seriously injured in a crash due to a defective part, you need an experienced attorney who will fight to get you the fair financial justice you deserve. I'm attorney Lloyd Bourgeois. Reach out to me and my team today at 504-882-9867 for a free consultation. Remember, when you need a win, you gotta give them the L. And if you found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button and check out this next video.